New York in 1910 was a city of glittering contrast. Fifth Avenue was already the boulevard of power, lined with mansions where wealth lived behind tall gates and carved stone. Carriages clattered along the street. Ladies in long coats and feathered hats stepped in and out of boutiques, and the world seemed to orbit around the rituals of money. Among these households was the Arnold family. Their daughter, Dorothy Harriet Camille Arnold, was 25 years old, a graduate of Bryn Mawr, a socialite but also an aspiring writer. She lived in privilege, but she wanted to be more than a name in the society pages. On December 12, 1910, she stepped out of her family's mansion for what seemed like an ordinary shopping trip. She never returned. Dorothy was born into comfort. Her father, Francis Arnold, was a wealthy importer of fine goods and part of a respected old money family. Their mansion stood on East 79th Street near Fifth Avenue, in the heart of Manhattan's elite neighborhood. Dorothy had every advantage. She was educated, well-dressed, and moved in fashionable circles. But she also had ambition. She wanted to write and publish short stories, and had already submitted pieces to magazines like McClure's and Harper's. They were rejected, and family members later described her as discouraged, even humiliated by these failures. Still, Dorothy was determined. She saw herself as more than just a socialite. On the morning of December 12th, she told her mother she was going shopping for a dress to wear to her sister's upcoming debutante party. At around 11 a.m., she left the house carrying a little over $25 in cash, a decent sum at the time, and some jewelry. She was seen around noon at a Park and Tilford candy shop on Fifth Avenue, where she purchased chocolates. A little later, she entered Brentano's bookstore at 27th Street, where she chatted with a friend and bought a copy of An Engaged Girl's Sketches, a light romantic book. To her friend, Dorothy seemed in good spirits, even joking about her family's strictness. After leaving the bookstore, she said she was going to walk home through Central Park. That was the last confirmed sighting of her. When Dorothy failed to return by dinner, her family grew uneasy. By nightfall, worry turned to alarm. But instead of calling the police immediately, the Arnolds kept the matter quiet. Her father, wary of scandal, feared public attention might damage the family name. He contacted private investigators instead. For weeks, they searched boarding houses, hospitals, and even morgues across the city. Nothing turned up. Only after the silence grew unbearable did the family make the disappearance public, and newspapers splashed Dorothy's face across their front pages. The public was gripped. How could a young heiress vanish in broad daylight on Fifth Avenue? Rumors exploded. Some suggested she had been kidnapped for ransom, though no credible demands were ever made. Others whispered of a secret romance. Dorothy had been linked to George Griscom Jr., a Pittsburgh socialite's son, more than a decade older than her. Her parents disapproved of the relationship, considering him irresponsible and unsuitable. Investigators questioned whether Dorothy might have run away to meet him. Griscom denied any knowledge, insisting he hadn't seen her and was as shocked as anyone. Other theories grew darker. Some speculated Dorothy had fallen victim to foul play, perhaps attacked while walking through Central Park or lured into a car by strangers. Police dragged the park's lakes and ponds. Nothing. Another rumor claimed she had become pregnant, sought an abortion, and died in the process, a story whispered but never proven. Still others thought she might have taken her own life, despondent over her rejected writing and her family's disapproval of her romance. Yet there was no note, no evidence, no body. The case baffled authorities. Dorothy's father offered rewards, spoke to detectives, even consulted with Pinkerton agents, but he also continued to resist certain lines of inquiry, refusing to allow police full access to family correspondence or to acknowledge the seriousness of her relationship with Griscom. His determination to protect the family's reputation clashed with the urgency of the investigation. Years later, critics would say the Arnold family's pride and silence may have doomed the chances of solving the mystery. New leads surfaced occasionally. There were reported sightings in cities across America, even abroad. None were confirmed. In 1914, a convicted con artist claimed Dorothy had been killed in a botched abortion and her body buried in New Jersey. Police investigated, but found no evidence. Another rumor suggested she had started a new life under another name, but no proof ever surfaced. As the years passed, Dorothy's absence became one of the great unsolved mysteries of New York high society. Her parents never declared her legally dead. Her mother held on to hope while her father grew bitter. When asked years later if he believed his daughter was still alive, Frances Arnold reportedly said, "I am firmly convinced my daughter is dead," but how, where, and why remained unanswered. The mystery gripped the public because it was more than a missing person case. It was about class, secrecy, and the fragility of reputation. In a city where poor immigrants vanished every day with little notice, Dorothy Arnold's disappearance made headlines because she came from privilege. Yet her wealth and family influence did not save her. It may even have hindered the search, as pride kept the investigation restrained. Today, more than a century later, the case is still unsolved. Dorothy Arnold left her mansion one winter morning and vanished into the city. There was no ransom, no farewell, no closure. Her story endures as a ghostly reminder that wealth is no shield against fate. The Fifth Avenue mansion where she lived has long since changed hands, its walls now silent. But for those who know the story, the name Dorothy Arnold still lingers in the air, a question without an answer. The case remains open in the sense that it was never officially closed. Dorothy's body was never found, her fate never proven. She became part of New York legend, the heiress who disappeared into thin air. For all the rumors and theories, the truth has never been confirmed. Was she abducted? Did she escape to another life? Was she the victim of scandal her family refused to acknowledge? The silence leaves room for speculation, but the reality is harsher. Dorothy Arnold walked out of her home and was never seen again. That's what makes her story endure. It's not just about one missing woman. It's about the limits of power and privilege in a city that swallows people whole. Her father could summon detectives and newspapers, but he could not conjure his daughter back. And so Dorothy Arnold remains frozen in time, 25 years old, last seen with a book under her arm and chocolates in her bag, walking away from Fifth Avenue into history's shadows.